Hey there, fish keepers. Every tank has a story, and my 90-gallon tank has a great one. The 90-gallon sits at the bottom of the entry to our basement. It occupies about a 4-foot space that really couldn't fit anything else in there. It's been set up since about 2018 or 2019 and houses a lot of my larger fish and any kind of extra fish that have grown up in my tanks and I don't really have room for anymore. How I acquired this tank is a really special story, and I'll save it till the end. But before then, I'll go over the equipment, the fish, and the plants that are in it. For starters, this is one of the only tanks that has a gravel substrate in it. It's doing really well, though. There's a lot of fish in this tank, and they get fed pretty heavily, so it produces a lot of nutrients, which the plants like. It's lit by a Fluval 2.0 light, which provides great light, good penetration right to the bottom. I've never had any trouble growing plants in this tank. It's lit for 12 hours a day, and I've never had a single issue with plant growth in it. Nothing fancy though, mostly crypts and tiger lotus. Nothing that requires any kind of CO2. It's heated by an Ebo Jagger 200 watt heater, which is still going strong since the time I got it. And filtration is provided by two Aquaclear 70 hang on the back filters, which have some ceramics in them and sponges in them. I clean them out about once a week. The tank gets a 25% water change every week. And it's been really stable. Temperatures at about 74 to 76 degrees. And the fish have been doing really great in it. There's also a colony of shrimp that are in this tank as well, but you'll never see them because if they let themselves out, they're going to get eaten right away. Those Congo tetras and Cali tawas are pretty hard on the shrimp, but they're in there. I've taken out the wood and plants and had to take out the fish before, and there's a bunch of yellow Neocaridania shrimp that are in there that are hanging on. There was actually quite a few the last time I had to do it. There's a bit of Malaysian driftwood in there that you probably don't see because it's completely covered by all the plants. And I don't really vacuum the substrate too much. The gravel kind of pushed to the front. There's a bit of a layer in the back where the tiger lotus is there. And I stack the gravel in behind there to give it kind of a bench. But you'd never notice the bench because it's grown in pretty heavily with plants right now. It does really well. There's a few floaters in there too that are providing a bit of shade. If we go over the fish that are in this tank, the red-tailed black sharks that are in there, they came with the tank, and there was 3 of them with it, which you'd never really think to do, but they seem to be doing fine. They have the odd squabble, but really no harm, no foul. And maybe it's because there's 3 in there. There's one that's really dominant, and it'll pick on the other 2. But because there's 2 of them, he can switch up who he's going to pick on. You can see that he's basically the boss of the tank, but he doesn't really harass anything too much. Congo tetras have been in there, boys, since before 2020, so before COVID. They're doing really great. They spawn in there all the time. But I've never collected any eggs. I've meant to a couple of times, but I've always got so many breeding projects going on that I just haven't really focused on them too much. And plus they'll take a lot of room to grow out. They're a pretty big fish. The Melanotaenia tawa that you see in there, the blue guys with the red tails, they're basically a backup breeding colony from my main colony. Just a few that I never sold over the years, and they're just there to provide stability to the colony. Every once in a while, you might see a Fundulopanchax gardneri or steel blue killifish go flying through the the tank there. The males are always chasing around the females. So I had a huge batch this past summer of those guys, and there was some extra fry that I put into this tank to kind of have a backup, and if I ever want to breed them again, I'll be able to have them. I haven't seen any fry come up in this tank yet, but I'm sure that some will survive. They're a really tough fish. There's some Glowlight tetras in there that are 5 or 6 years old. You can see them poking around near the back, and they're doing really good. I think they're all still in there, the original ones. There's a really huge colony of Panda cories that are in here, about 30 of them. They're all in the back, and they are ancient. They're from 2018, 2019, and I don't know how old they were when I got them, so they're all pretty old, but I've taken a lot of fry out of this tank and taken eggs from this colony as well and raised them up in other tanks. There's a couple of green neons that are in there, and they just came from a tank that had crashed in the summer. The heater went on it, which is a good reminder for me to replace this heater. And there's one green Neon Rasbora you can see near the top there that's booting around. Those guys are really tough. They're really good competitors. They can hang out with these. He can totally hold his own with the Congos and the Melanotaenia tawa, no problem whatsoever. There's one little female guppy that's in here as well too. Just the impossible fish to catch. Also, you won't see them out now, but there's a Pakistani loach that came with the tank as well. There was also clown loaches that came with the tank, and they got really big, and I ended up giving them to a buddy of mine, Ryan, who has a pretty decent sized clown loach colony, so that they could hang out with other clown loaches and have a bit of a circus there over at his place. So the clown loaches were the main feature fish in this tank for a long time, but they've just gotten too big, and I think that they'd have a better home hanging out with a bunch of other clowns. So if we look at the plants that are in this tank, it's pretty much dominated by the tiger lotus in the middle there. There's probably 6 or 7 tiger lotuses that constitute the big mass in the middle there. And I'm always taking off runners and putting them into other tanks or selling them. And it's doing really well. There's a lot of nutrients that are in this tank from all the fish waste. So the tiger lotus growth is really good. And I'm always getting little side runners. So I'll take small plants off of it, put them in other tanks, grow them up. On the upper left-hand side there, you can see that I've got some Cryptocorin asteriana, the big crinkly leaf plant there, and it's doing really well in this tank. That's a super solid plant. It just seems to do really well in any tank that I've ever put it in. It can be even a small tank. It just takes over a small tank because it's a pretty big plant. The leaves must grow to 24 or 30 inches. There's another species of crypt there just below the asteriana that also has a little bit of crinkly leaf. I don't know what kind of crypt that is. It came out of Ontario. I just call it Cryptocorin species red. Really pretty Cryptocorin species. If you look more towards the middle of the tank, there's Cryptocorin ponditerifolia, the wide-leafed Cryptocorin in the middle there. It's doing really well in this tank. There's some Crypt lutea and some Cryptocorin wentai over on just about over to the right-hand side, kind of in the middle there, that's doing really well. That crypt actually came with this tank, and it's doing quite awesome. And I've have it in all of my tanks all over the place. And then on the right-hand side, there's a really big piece of driftwood, which you wouldn't see, Malaysian driftwood. It's quite a nice piece that came with the tank, and it's covered with Anubias there. There's also, on that right-hand side, there's a few Cryptocorin bolonce plants that are in there as well, but they're really starting to get shaded out by the Cryptocorna steriana. I've got a little bit of water lettuce that's in this tank. It's on either side at the top, and you don't really see it. And there's a bit of Vallisneria in there as well, but it's kind of losing the battle with the Cryptocorna steriana. It's starting to really take over in this tank. So how I acquired this tank is the coolest part of this tank's story. On Kijiji, which is like Craigslist here in Canada, it's a buy and sell site. There was a 110-gallon tank advertised with a wood stand and fully planted with all kinds of fish, including the clown loaches. And they had it up for sale for $250. And I looked at the picture of the tank and I'm like, the plants are easily worth $250. Not to mention the whole rest of the equipment that came with it and the fish. And I was like, man, is this person in trouble or something? You know, is this like somebody who's getting a divorce? And they said they needed to, you know, get the tank out of there right away. So I actually, instead of, you know, putting in an offer on it, I offered to keep it at my house in that little terrible spot that I can't fit anything else in my basement in, until, you know, their life was sorted out and they could come back and get it. Because $250 for the plants, the fish, and all the equipment that was there, you know, that was just a ridiculous steal. You know, it was completely undervaluing this tank and its contents, and, you know, I felt bad for the person. So I offered just to, you know, keep it at my house for a couple of months until there's, you know, their business got sorted out. So anyways, they got back to me and they said, oh no, just come and get it. We need to get rid of it. And so I went over there and they told me that they had over 100 offers on it, and nobody, you know, nobody wanted to pay full price, the $250, which is ridiculous because the plants were worth twice that much. And everybody, you know, wanted to get it for nothing. And I was the only one who actually offered to help out. So they gave me the deal. And they ended up giving me like probably $2,500 or $3,000 worth of other stuff along with it too. It was the person whose tank it was, it had actually gotten sick, and they needed to you know, get rid of the tank, and they wanted it to go to a good place where the person who took it would take good care of their fish. So it went to the perfect place because they take awesome care of their fish. So they gave me all kinds of stuff like CO2 bottles and regulators and other heaters and pumps and you know, Aquaclear filters, and it was just awesome, and all kinds of fish food and all kinds of test kits and things like that. So, you know, I was trying to do a good deed, so, and usually that's not rewarded at all, but in this case it was totally rewarded, and I got a fantastic tank and with a great stand and all kinds of equipment and fantastic fish, you know, by offering to help somebody rather than, you know, take advantage of somebody who's in a bad situation. So, you know, it was a kind act, and sometimes kindness is rewarded 10 times. So I'm super appreciative to have gotten this tank. It was such a good deal, and it just kind of encourages me to encourage others to be kind to others, because you never know. You know, they might reward you tenfold on it. So that's the special story that this tank has. And the other part of the special story is that it was an old tank, and I think after 3 years I had a big leak and it flooded my basement, and my daughter called me up and she's like, the tank is leaking. And I'm like, well, how fast is it? And she's like, it's about a quarter gone now. And I'm like, I literally had only been gone from the house for about less than a half an hour, I was like, oh my God. And I had to go back from work and clean up a big mess. But it was an old aquarium. So I replaced it with a 90 instead of the 110. So it made it shorter, gave it actually better light penetration than what it had in the 110, which is just basically a higher tank. I hope you enjoyed the story of my 90-gallon aquarium. I think it's a great story. Did a kind thing and got way more than I ever could have imagined in return. So, just remember, kindness pays. Happy fish keeping!